It's because you have a wife, the white-haired youth screamed in fear and retreated. Still not getting lost. The absolute beauty shouted coldly. She didn't attack immediately, but her aura became stronger. All right, let's go, let's go. The white-haired youth said. Although he was extremely unhappy, he didn't dare to fight the absolute beauty, even though there were 5 of them and he was a half-step divine king. As half-step divine kings, there was a huge difference between those who had awakened the origin divine power factor and those who had. Even if the 5 of them worked together, they would not be a match for the absolute beauty. Therefore, even though he was furious, he could only grit his teeth and avoid it. Wait a moment. At this moment, Lu Ming called out to the white-haired young man and the rest. What are you doing? The white-haired young man looked at Lu Ming. Brothers, don't leave. Help me deal with this crazy woman. As long as you help me, I'll give you all the treasures I have. Lu Ming smiled. All the treasures? The white-haired young man and the others were stunned for a moment, and a trace of fire flashed in their eyes. They were indeed tempted by the treasures on Lu Ming. However, when their gazes fell on the absolute beauty, they hesitated. Dealing with the absolute beauty would be life-threatening. The white-haired youth's eyes turned, and he finally decided to give up. Although the treasure was important, how could it be more important than his own life? Therefore, the white-haired young man decided to refuse. However, the absolute beauty didn't give him the chance. If you still want to join forces against me, then I'll kill you all as well. Die. The beautiful woman shouted coldly. She brandished her sword, shooting out beams of sword light. The sword light enveloped Lu Ming, the white-haired young man, and the others. What are you doing? Damn it, you crazy woman, the white-haired young man roared. He opened his mouth and let out a long roar. His body expanded rapidly and actually turned into a huge white lion. This was the divine beast, the snow lion. Not only him, but the other young men also transformed into snow lions. It turned out that the white-haired young man and the others were not humans, but the family of the frost lion, a divine beast. They transformed into their true forms and unleashed their full strength. They opened their mouths and roared, sending out waves of icy air currents that attacked the absolute beauty. The white-haired young man was furious. He had planned to retreat, but the absolute beauty suddenly attacked him. He could only defend with all his strength. Boom, boom. The area was constantly exploding, and the force was overflowing. This is good opportunity. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he transformed into his ancient god body. Star explosion. Lu Ming thrust his spear forward. A ray of spear light rushed toward the beautiful woman and exploded, colliding with the beautiful woman's sword light in a terrifying manner. With the help of this force, Lu Ming's body retreated rapidly. He then cast the 9 heavenly Kuan Prung technique and charged forward madly. This woman's brain is indeed not very good. The moment he rushed out, such a thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. In fact, through the previous few times, Lu Ming realized that although the absolute beauty was powerful and had amazing talents, she did not have many schemes and thoughts. To put it bluntly, it was pure. Yes, she was pure. Not only pure, but also proud. That was why she fell for their tricks time and time again. Just now, Lu Ming had only pretended to invite the white-haired young man and the rest to attack together. The absolute beauty attacked them without thinking. The main reason was that he was simple-minded and thought that the white-haired youth and the others would really attack. The other reason was her pride. She was very confident in her own strength and believed that she could deal with the white-haired young man and the others. Lu Ming had seized the opportunity. Pervert, die. Seeing that Lu Ming had run away again, the absolute beauty was furious. She abandoned the white-haired young man and the others and chased after Lu Ming. One chasing and one escaping, they disappeared in the blink of an eye, leaving the white-haired young man and the others looking at each other. Who is this crazy woman? Why haven't I seen him before? To think that there's such a beautiful and talented person in the universal camp. Looks like you'll have to pay more attention to her in the future. There must be a secret on Lu Ming. Otherwise, the Jin and Qin families wouldn't want to kill him. I hope that he's lucky and doesn't die in the hands of that woman. He won't be so lucky the next time he meets us. The white-haired youth and the others chatted for a while before leaving. Lu Ming circulated the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique to the extreme. His divine power boiled and condensed into a Kunpeng. The Kunpeng's wings flapped rapidly. With every flap, Lu Ming flew hundreds of miles away. However, the absolute beauty was even faster. She transformed into a sword light and streaked through the air. Her speed was even faster than Lu Ming's. This was also due to the presence of the cold nether energy. Otherwise, the absolute bowtie's speed would be even more astonishing and Lu Ming would not be able to escape. Lu Ming, don't even think about using the dire beast to get rid of me this time. I won't be fooled again. The absolute beauty shouted. At the thought of how Lu Ming had escaped time and time again, she was very upset and her killing intent grew stronger. Beauty, beauty, why do you have to chase me? I have a wife. Lu Ming shouted. It's because you have a wife, you deserve to die even more. The absolute beauty said coldly. Lu Ming almost vomited blood. He staggered and almost fell. What do you mean you deserve to die more because you have a wife? Why did her words sound like she was jealous? However, Lu Ming had never seen this woman before. Beauty, are you secretly in love with me, but you found out that I have a wife, so you can't have me, so you want to kill me? You can't have such a thought, it's too perverted. Lu Ming shouted. Nonsense, who likes you? Don't think too much. The absolute bowtie's expression turned even colder. Then why do you still want to chase me? Why do you have to kill me? Lu Ming was really speechless. I'm going to kill you. Why do I have so many reasons? The absolute beauty shouted and a sword light slashed out. Lu Ming dodged it by a hair's breadth and was almost seriously injured. This woman really wanted to kill him. She wasn't just saying it. She didn't show any mercy. Lu Ming was completely confused now. Even with his intelligence, he could not guess the purpose of the beautiful woman. If she had been sent by the Jin and Qin families, or by forces that had colluded with the Dark Ice clan, the beautiful woman would not have saved Lu Ming when the white-haired young man and the others wanted to kill him. What was the difference between her killing herself and being killed? However, the absolute beauty wanted to chase away the white-haired young man and the rest and kill Lu Ming with her own hands. No matter how she looked at it, she looked like a resentful wife who had been let down. Beauty, did you get the wrong person? In the end, Lu Ming shouted helplessly. I won't be mistaken. Your name is Lu Ming and you came from the Qin Heaven Star system. The person I want to kill is you. The absolute beauty said coldly. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only fly at full speed. A supreme cold treasure? Suddenly, Lu Ming's body trembled slightly. He circulated his divine energy and the 9th heaven Kunpeng that he had condensed became more solid. At this critical moment, the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique actually broke through and reached the 8th level. Originally, Lu Ming had cultivated the incomplete 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique to the peak of the 7th stage. Later on, he obtained the complete version of the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique. After cultivating it for a period of time, he was able to achieve a breakthrough naturally under the high concentration he had. The moment he broke through to the 8th level of the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique, Lu Ming's speed had increased greatly. The Kunpeng flapped its wings and Lu Ming's speed increased rapidly, covering 1,000 miles in an instant. In an instant, Lu Ming's speed was not any slower than the absolute beauty. I've broken through. The absolute bowtie's eyes narrowed. Divine power surged wildly, turning into a beam of sword light. She moved forward like lightning, but she could not catch up with Lu Ming. The two of them maintained a certain distance. Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The two of them flew deeper and deeper into the dark frost-forbidden grounds. However, the absolute beauty continued to pursue Lu Ming. This crazy woman, what kind of deep hatred do I have with her? Being chased, Lu Ming was furious. He couldn't continue like this. Although he had the quantity formula, which had an endless supply of Shen power and could maintain it for a long time, if this continued, he wouldn't have time to find the cold treasures. He would be delayed. Lu Ming, there's an extremely strong fluctuation of cold energy ahead. Suddenly, the voice of the quantity formula sounded. The fluctuation of the ultimate cold energy? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he continued flying. After flying for a while, the coldness in front of them became even more intense. The cold chi was pressing and the cold chi was like mist. In the distance, Lu Ming saw an underground crack. It was huge, hundreds of miles long and dozens of miles wide. The dense cold nether energy was coming from the underground crack. There it is. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Lu Ming thought of a plan that might be able to get rid of the beautiful woman. The frosty chi in the underground crack was so dense that it would be a good use to get rid of the beautiful woman. Buzz! Lu Ming rushed toward the underground crack. The underground crack was huge. Even though Lu Ming had transformed into an ancient god, he was still very small and he could easily rush in. The absolute Bowtie's expression changed slightly when she saw Lu Ming rushing into the underground crack. Don't even think about escaping. In the end, the absolute beauty gritted her teeth and also rushed in. The underground crack was huge. The deeper it went, the wider it became. However, the cold air also became stronger. Very soon, Lu Ming arrived at the bottom. The cold air here was already very shocking. Lu Ming circulated the divine power of the moon with all his might. With the protection of the ice chains, he was able to block the attack of the cold air. Buzz! The sound of a sword rang out as a sword light rapidly approached from above. This woman really won't let me off. Lu Ming's face darkened and he rushed forward. The ground beneath the crack was like a large canyon. Lu Ming, yes, it's right in front. I can feel an incomparably dense cold chi. There must be some cold treasures here. It can even refine the energy of many stars, cores. The quantity formula kept tempting Lu Ming. Lu Ming ran at a high speed and soon he reached the end. At the end, there was a huge black cave, from which cold nether energy was constantly flowing out. Lu Ming rushed in without any hesitation. Not long after, the beautiful woman followed suit. There was a passage in the cave. Lu Ming ran for thousands of miles and his eyes suddenly opened up. This was a huge underground space. The surrounding walls were embedded with snow-white gemstones that constantly emitted a chill. At a glance, there were no less than a few hundred of them emitting a hazy glow. Could these be supreme cold treasures? No, the quality of these gemstones is much worse. Lu Ming frowned. Although these gemstones exuded extreme coldness, their quality was not high. They were probably much worse than the cold jade stone. However, if he sold it to those who cultivated cold attribute Shen power, it should be worth a lot of Shen crystals. However, Lu Ming was a little disappointed. This was not what he wanted. That's not right. I can feel that there's an extremely high-quality treasure of extreme cold in this area. There's no mistake. Let me sense it. The quantity formula shouted. At this moment, a sword light flashed, and the absolute beauty chased in. This crazy woman is really here. Lu Ming's expression was somewhat gloomy. However, the coldness here was very strong. The beautiful woman had to set up layers of divine power around her body to block the cold from the outside world. Lu Ming died. As soon as the absolute beauty saw Lu Ming, she was about to charge at him. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the underground space suddenly started to shake. The surrounding walls started to make rumbling sounds. Bang! Suddenly, the wall on one side burst open, and stone and ice flew everywhere. Then a huge head popped out. Lu Ming was shocked. He did not expect a head to stick out from the wall. This head was not the head of an animal. It was more like a plant's. It was like a tree stump, white and crystal clear, covered with roots. Furthermore, it was extremely huge, at least a few thousand meters in length and width. A cold attribute treasure. Yes, there's a cold attribute treasure in the middle of its brows. The quantity formula shouted. Lu Ming took a closer look. Indeed, there was a silver-white gem embedded on the stump-like head. A terrifying chill was exuded from the silver-white gem. What a shocking coldness. It's no worse than the Ice Jade Cold Heart of the Ice Soul clan. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and his heart was burning. If he could obtain this gem and pass it to the quantity formula, he could use it to neutralize the energy in the core of the star. It would definitely be able to quickly refine some energy for Lu Ming's breakthrough. He wanted to get it. Lu Ming thought to himself. After the stump-like head appeared, it roared and opened its mouth. In the void, hundreds of icicles were instantly condensed and then whizzed toward Lu Ming and the beautiful woman. Break the air, break the air. Lu Ming kept casting the air-piercing move. The spear's gleam burst out one after another to block the attack of the ice thorns. Clang, clang. A series of collision sounds rang out. Lu Ming managed to block the icicles, but his body shook violently and he could not help but retreat. What shocking strength! Lu Ming's eyes were a little solemn. On the other side, the beautiful woman waved her sword and easily blocked the attack of the ice thorns. Seeing that it could not finish off Lu Ming and the beautiful woman with one move, the tree stump head seemed to be furious. It opened its mouth and spewed out white mist, which gushed toward Lu Ming and the beautiful woman. This mist was like an upgraded version of the frost nether chi, and it was filled with a terrifying chill. Wherever the mist passed, ice crystals would appear in the air. It was extremely terrifying. The terrifying vines, the cold air that was spurted out from the stump-like head was extremely terrifying. Even Lu Ming shivered as if his body was about to be frozen. The beautiful woman had to lay down more than 10 layers of divine power around her body to block the cold. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, the ground exploded. A few vines suddenly rushed out from under Lu Ming and the beautiful woman's feet, heading toward them. There were a total of 4 vines. 2 of them were used to deal with Lu Ming, while the other 2 were used to deal with the beautiful woman. The vine was snow white and crystal clear like jade, but it was filled with a terrifying chill. And NBSP hoo-hoo. The vines whipped in the air, making a whistling sound as they lashed at Lu Ming like a soft whip. Moon slaying. Lu Ming held the spear with both hands and slashed continuously. Boom, boom. The long spear struck the vine, causing a violent tremor. Then, Lu Ming's body shook violently and he retreated continuously. The qi and blood in his body churned and he almost vomited blood. The surface of his body was covered in a layer of ice crystals, almost freezing his body. He had to continuously channel his divine power to dissolve the layer of ice. So that tree stump-like head is a vine head, but its strength is so terrifying. Lu Ming's expression was very grave. At this moment, he could tell that the huge head that had appeared earlier was the vine's head. The vine's strength was extremely shocking. It was definitely at the Divine King realm and was even stronger than the Night Demon Lord. Buzz, buzz. On the other side, the beautiful woman's sword light continued to burst forth, cutting 2 vines and sending them flying. Roar. The vine roared and the 4 vines began to dance wildly. Each vine could change its size freely. Like a long snake, it lashed out or wrapped around the 2 of them. However, this time, only one of the 2 vines that were originally attacking Lu Ming remained. The other one attacked the beautiful woman. It was obvious that the absolute beauty posed a greater threat to it, so the vine used more power to deal with the absolute beauty. Lu Ming, if you want to kill this vine and get the treasure of absolute frost, you have to destroy its head. Otherwise, you can't kill it by just attacking the vine. The quantity formula shouted. Understood. Lu Ming responded. He waved his long spear and exchanged a few more moves with the vines. Suddenly, Lu Ming's body moved and he executed the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique to its maximum. With a flash, he dodged the vine's attack and charged toward the vine's head. In an instant, Lu Ming was not far from the vine's head. And NBSP hoo-hoo. The vine opened its mouth wide and spat out a thick mist that gushed toward Lu Ming. The temperature of the mist was shockingly low. Lu Ming was enveloped in it and he felt that his body was about to freeze. Not only his body, but his soul was also about to be frozen. Suddenly, the 9th ice chain glowed. A layer of silver-white light enveloped Lu Ming and blocked the cold air outside. Then, Lu Ming's body shook and the ice crystals on the surface of his body shattered. Lu Ming continued to attack the vine's head. Seeing that Lu Ming was about to get close to the vine's head, he was about to use the supernova to kill the vine completely. However, at this moment, the rocks around the vine's head exploded and 5 vines rushed out. Each of the 5 vines was crystal clear and exuded a terrifying chill. They lashed out or wrapped around Lu Ming. Not good. Lu Ming's pupils contracted rapidly. It turned out that this vine actually had so many vines. It was simply like an octopus. Previously, he had only used 4 vines to attack Lu Ming and the rest. The other 5 vines were hidden near his head to protect it. Once someone got close, the 5 vines could launch a lightning attack. At that moment, Lu Ming could only try his best to resist. Roar! A dragon's roar was heard. Lu Ming circulated the divine dragon materialization art. 7 divine dragon manifestations appeared and charged toward a vine. At the same time, he brandished his spear and attacked a few vines. Boom! Boom! A series of explosions rang out. The 7 9-clawed divine dragons were instantly destroyed. Lu Ming's body shook violently. His arms were about to explode as he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, out of the 5 vines, Lu Ming could only block 3 of them. There was nothing he could do about the remaining 2. The remaining 2 sets of canes wrapped around Lu Ming. A terrifying chill enveloped Lu Ming's entire body, and he was immediately covered in a layer of ice. Break, break, break! Lu Ming roared. The divine power in his body erupted and he struggled madly, trying to break the vines. However, the vine was extremely tough. Lu Ming exerted all his strength, but not only did it not break, it tightened even more. The green scales on Lu Ming's body were about to break. Then, the vine pulled Lu Ming and stuffed him into its mouth. It was planning to eat him. This is troublesome. There was a trace of panic in Lu Ming's eyes. The current situation was not good. His entire body was entangled and almost frozen. He had no way to resist. Although he had cultivated the moon divine power, his cultivation was still weak. He could not stop the cold from invading. Brat, don't be afraid. Entering its mouth is our chance. We might be able to kill it. At this moment, the measure character said. Enter its mouth and kill it? The coldness in this guy's mouth is extremely terrifying. I'm afraid it'll be frozen to death in an instant if I go in. Lu Ming said. Frozen to death? How is that possible? With this old lady here, how could I let you freeze to death? The unhappy voice of the quantity formula sounded. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. That's right, the chill was actually a type of energy. The quantity formula was known as the source of all energy. It could devour any kind of energy. In that case, it could also devour coldness. As long as the quantity formula was used on Lu Ming's surface and devoured the coldness on his pale face, he would not have to be afraid of that kind of coldness. Boy, it seems that you have thought it through. The reason why I haven't made a move now is that I'm afraid of alerting the snake and making this vine hesitate. If that's the case, it'll really be difficult to kill. The quantity formula said. Alright, then let's give it a shot. There was a hint of ruthlessness in Lu Ming's eyes. He planned to let himself be swallowed by the vine before he launched a lightning-fast attack. But at this moment, something changed. Bush, bush, bush. Streams of sword chi shot out and slashed at the vines that were wrapped around Lu Ming, causing sparks to fly. It was the absolute beauty. She had escaped from the 3 vines and was charging over. Only I can kill Lu Ming. No one else is qualified to kill him, including you, old vine. Die. The absolute beauty shouted. Sword chi filled the air, and her body was covered by a transparent sword light. Her aura was extremely shocking. Divine sword art. The absolute beauty waved her hand and a few hundred sword lights slashed at the vines that wrapped around Lu Ming. However, the vines were shockingly hard and sturdy. Even with the absolute Bowtai's abilities, she could not cut them and could only leave a few white marks on them. A woman's heart is like a needle in the ocean. The absolute Bowtai's actions had angered the vines. The other vines flew over together, whistling through the air as they charged towards the absolute beauty. Bush, bush, bush. With a wave of her hand, the beautiful woman sent out beams of sword light that were as solid as glass. They slashed at the vines and sent them flying. The absolute beauty was very powerful. If they were in the outside world, her strength would not be weaker than the vine. But here, She was affected by the cold nether energy and couldn't use her full strength. "You crazy woman, what are you doing? Who needs your help?" Lu Ming roared. He was speechless. This crazy woman had wanted to kill him before, but now she wanted to save him. He really couldn't figure out what this woman was thinking. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the ocean. This woman was the embodiment of it. "I've said it before, even if you die, you can only die in my hands," the absolute beauty shouted coldly. She waved her sword, and beams of sword light slashed at the vines wrapped around Lu Ming's body. She wanted to cut the vines apart and save Lu Ming. However, the vines were tough and could not be split open. "Woman, are you crazy? I don't want you to save me. Get lost," Lu Ming roared. This woman's actions would ruin his plans. His plan was to rush into the vine's mouth and kill it. If he was rescued, his plan would not be able to proceed. Lu Ming really wanted to curse. However, the absolute Bowtie's face darkened. She could not be bothered with Lu Ming and continued to attack. However, she could not break the vines in the end. Lu Ming was getting closer and closer to the vines. He was almost in her mouth. At this moment, a hint of ruthlessness flashed in the absolute Bowtie's eyes. She suddenly abandoned Lu Ming and rushed toward the head of the vine. She also understood that the only way to save Lu Ming was to attack the vine's head or even kill it. "Godly sword art kill?" the beautiful woman shouted and slashed at the vine's head. A crystal sword light slashed at the vine. The vine waved a few vines in front of it to block the sword light, but the vines were also swept away. "Kill!" The absolute beauty continued to approach the vine's head. The vine gate roared and struggled. Its head broke free from the wall. Boom, boom, boom. The huge body of the vine was completely revealed. It had a huge head and 9 thick vines around its body, making it look like an octopus. The vine had completely left the wall and its body was more agile. With a flash, it dodged the attack of the absolute beauty. At the same time, it waved the vine and attacked the absolute beauty. The absolute Bowtie's body was covered in a transparent sword light. 2 vines whipped the sword light, and the sword light trembled. The absolute Bowtie's body also trembled. However, she still had a determined and stubborn look on her face as she continued to charge toward the vine's head. "Man and sword as one, kill!" In the end, the absolute beauty shouted. She turned into a sword light and rushed toward the vine's head, ignoring her own defense. Bang, bang, bang. The vines waved a few of them and whipped at the beautiful woman. They whipped the sword light around her, causing it to shake violently. The beautiful woman's body trembled, and blood seeped out of the corner of her mouth. However, she didn't care about that. She gritted her teeth and continued to rush toward the vine's head. This crazy woman doesn't even care about her own safety. Lu Ming was speechless. At this moment, he felt a slight warmth in his heart. After all, this woman was trying to save him. And NBSP, the sword light that the beautiful woman had transformed into, was extremely powerful and emitted shocking power. It charged at the vine head as if it was going to split it in half. The vine's eyes finally revealed a trace of panic. It roared and the vines that were wrapped around Lu Ming loosened. It ignored Lu Ming and whipped the beautiful woman. Bang, bang, bang. The 9 vines continued to lash at the absolute beauty. The absolute Bowtie's protective sword light finally could not withstand it and was shattered. At the same time, the gem on the vine's head that was emitting extreme coldness glowed. A ray of light rushed out and rushed toward the absolute beauty. This ray of light was shockingly fast and hit the absolute beauty in an instant. The beautiful woman's body trembled and flew back. However, as she flew back, a sword light flew out of her hand and cut the vine's head. However, as the absolute beauty was sent flying, the sword light was also slightly off course, and it cut one of the vine's eyes, leaving a deep wound. The vines howled madly, and the 9 vines danced wildly. Lu Ming dodged in a hurry, and one of the vines whipped the beautiful woman who was flying backward. The beautiful woman was sent flying and crashed into the wall on the side before falling to the ground. What was even more shocking was that a layer of ice crystals quickly appeared on the beautiful woman's body, trying to freeze her. "Let's go quickly." Hurry up and leave this place. The beautiful woman did not die. She glared at Lu Ming and shouted. After she finished speaking, she spat out a few more mouthfuls of blood. This crazy woman. Lu Ming was really confused. Previously, this woman was bent on killing Lu Ming. Now, she was willing to risk being severely injured to save Lu Ming. After being injured, she even told Lu Ming to leave quickly. This change was too fast. However, Lu Ming did not wish to leave now. The vines were injured, and it was a good opportunity to kill them. Lu Ming's figure flashed and he continued to attack the vines. The vine roared and waved, lashing at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body shrank and returned to his human form. He then executed the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique to its maximum and dodged continuously. With his body shrunk, he became more agile and dodged more easily. Coupled with the 8th level of the 9 heavenly Kuan Peng technique, Lu Ming dodged 9 attacks from the vines in a row and rushed towards the head of the vine. When Lu Ming was near the vine's head, the gem on its head glowed again. A white beam of light rushed toward Lu Ming. This was the beam of light that had attacked the beautiful woman earlier. It was shockingly fast and it also had a terrifying chill. Lu Ming wanted to hide but he could not. The absolute beauty didn't dodge it either. The next moment, the white beam of light attacked Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a bone-chilling cold burst out, wanting to freeze him completely. It was not just his physical body, but also his soul. Cold. It was extremely cold. Lu Ming's thoughts seemed to be frozen. This was an extremely terrifying thing. Fortunately, Lu Ming had the measure formula. In his sea of consciousness, the measure formula glowed. A devouring force enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. Immediately, the bone-chilling cold was completely devoured by the measure formula. Lu Ming regained his freedom in an instant. Buzz. Lu Ming increased his speed and in a flash, he was in the mouth of the vine. Lu Ming. Seeing Lu Ming rush into the mouth of the vine, the absolute Bowtie's eyes revealed a trace of complicated feelings. You want to marry me? I didn't expect that he and I would end up dying in this place together. Is this really fate? The absolute beauty murmured, her eyes somewhat complicated. At this moment, the layer of ice covering her body was even thicker. Her eyes were a little dazed and her vitality was getting weaker and weaker. The vine's head was huge. Lu Ming rushed into its mouth and realized that it was empty inside. Boom. Lu Ming released a powerful aura and wanted to kill the vine. However, from all directions, endless cold air enveloped Lu Ming, trying to freeze him to death. This kind of cold chi was extremely terrifying. It was condensed by the gem on the vine's head. If it were anyone else, even if they had the cultivation of the absolute beauty, they would probably be frozen to death. However, Lu Ming had the measure formula. The measure formula glowed and a mysterious energy covered Lu Ming's body. The terrifying cold air would be devoured and absorbed by the measure formula as soon as it got close to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was not affected at all. Lu Ming, wait a minute. It's useless for you to attack like this. It's hard to kill it completely without hitting its core. The quantity formula said. Where is the core of this vine? Lu Ming asked. This vine is not an ordinary plant. It is born from extreme cold chi, so it must have a core. I can sense it. Move forward. The quantity formula said. The vine's head was a few thousand meters long and wide. It was very large. Lu Ming flew a few hundred meters and saw that there were many fine vines above it. They were wrapped around a crystal core the size of a human head and were connected to each other. That's the core of the vine. As long as you break it, the vine will die. The quantity formula said. All right. Without any hesitation, Lu Ming was about to launch an attack. At this moment, the vine seemed to sense the impending danger. It frantically gathered the cold air and rushed towards Lu Ming like a storm. Even an ordinary first-tier divine king would be frozen to death by such cold air. However, Lu Ming was not affected at all. The cold chi was absorbed by the quantity formula and could be used to adjust the energy in the core of the star. Moon slaying. Lu Ming circulated his divine power and shot out. Boom. The spear radiance struck the crystal core. causing it to shake violently before exploding. And then beso, CSI. The vine let out all kinds of ear-piercing cries, and its huge body scurried around. Finally, it fell to the ground with a loud bang, motionless and completely breathless. He's dead? The absolute Bowtie's eyes revealed surprise. However, her current condition was getting worse and worse, and she was about to fall into a coma. Bang! The vines had exploded and Lu Ming appeared on top of it. He swept his gaze across the area and frowned when he saw the state of the absolute beauty. Should I save him or not? Lu Ming muttered. According to Lu Ming's character, he did not want to save her because this woman had been hunting him down. Since she was an enemy, Lu Ming would definitely not show mercy. However, this woman had saved him twice. Previously, he had faced the white-haired youth. Now, he was facing the vines. No matter what the other party's purpose was, he had indeed saved him. Especially this time, in order to save him, he had sacrificed himself. Save him. Finally, Lu Ming muttered. He had his own principles. Since the other party had saved him, he had to return the favor. Lu Ming took a step forward and arrived beside the beautiful woman. This woman has been hit by that vine. The cold has already attacked her heart. In at most 10 minutes, she will be completely frozen to death. The quantity formula said. Lu Ming nodded and sized up the beautiful woman carefully. To be honest, this absolute beauty was really beautiful. The clothes on her body were slightly torn by the vines, revealing a large area of her snow-white skin. In addition, he was motionless at the moment and looked like he was at the mercy of others. Lu Ming's heart wavered when he saw this. What are you trying to do? The beautiful woman said nervously, but her voice was weak. What do you think? Lu Ming smiled evilly. This smile made the woman's face turn even paler and filled her with despair. I'll ask you some questions. If you can answer them, I'll consider letting you go. Lu Ming said. What do you want to ask? Go ahead and ask. The absolute beauty said. Why do you want to kill me? And why did you save me? Lu Ming asked. This was what he was most curious about. The absolute beauty gritted her teeth, seemingly unwilling to say. You're not going to tell me, right? If you don't, then don't blame me. Lu Ming smiled evilly and touched the beautiful woman's face. The touch was extremely cold. A terrifying chill rushed toward Lu Ming's palm. Lu Ming circulated his divine power to dispel it. Stop, the absolute beauty said in a panic. Lu Ming looked at the other party and did not say a word, waiting for him to continue. Because if I don't kill you, I'll marry you. If I don't want to marry you, I'll have to kill you. The absolute beauty said. What? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He thought that he had heard wrongly. You want to marry me? Beauty, we've never met before. Why do you want to marry me? Lu Ming was really dumbfounded. Are you Prince Jingye's successor? The absolute beauty suddenly said. Lu Ming was so shocked that he almost jumped. How did the other party know that Lu Ming was the successor of Jianghu? He did not tell anyone about this. How did you know? Lu Ming's face darkened and his eyes were filled with killing intent. This matter could not be leaked out. Jianghu had been framed back then, and he had a terrifying enemy in the Great Void Holy Dynasty. If the secret that he was Startled Feather's inheritor were to be revealed, he would most likely be killed. My father told me. The absolute beauty said. Your father? Lu Ming's heart turned cold. Could it be that he had been exposed? My father is in the Universal Camp. When you were fighting with the others in the Universal Camp, my father happened to pass by and he saw through you. The absolute beauty said. Your father? Lu Ming muttered, his mind spinning rapidly. Other than fighting with Frigid Eagle in the Universal Camp, he had not fought at all. Could it be that he had been recognized at that time? Who is your father? How did you recognize me? And what does this have to do with you marrying me? Lu Ming asked a few questions in succession. My father was Prince Jinghu's teacher back then. He followed Prince Jianghu for countless years, so it's only natural that my father would be able to recognize his successor. The absolute beauty said. Jianghu's teacher? Lu Ming was slightly stunned. This was really beyond his expectations. My father is proficient in the art of numerancy. He predicted that Prince Jingyu's successor was about to be born. Furthermore, he swore an oath that he would marry his daughter me to the successor of Prince Jingyu. My father believed that Prince Jingyu was framed. He wanted me to help Prince Jingyu's successor find out the truth. The absolute beauty continued. Oriole behind my father wanted me to marry you, but I didn't want to. So, I had to kill you. The beautiful woman's voice turned cold. Lu Ming understood a lot after listening to the absolute Bowtai's words. Her father was Jing Ye's teacher, and he was well versed in the art of divination. He knew that Jing Ye's successor was about to be born, and thus, he wanted his daughter to marry him. It was only when Lu Ming was fighting with Lung Ying at the Universal Camp that the beautiful lad's father saw him and recognized him. It was no wonder that the absolute beauty wanted to kill Lu Ming as soon as she saw him. Since you want to kill me, why did you save me? Lu Ming asked again. Father wants me to marry you and protect you. So you have to die. You can only die in my hands, not in the hands of anyone else. The absolute beauty said. As she said this, her voice became weaker and weaker. This logic is really weird. Lu Ming pursed his lips and was rather speechless. However, according to this logic, it made sense. If that was the case, he had to save this absolute beauty even more. It wasn't because of her beauty, but because she was the daughter of teacher Jingyu. From the looks of it, those who had followed Jingyu back then hadn't been completely suppressed. There were still people alive. In the future, if he were to help Jingyu reverse his verdict, he would still need the help of these people. Lu Ming squatted down and held the beautiful woman's hand. What are you doing? You said that you would let me go if I answered your question. You can't go back on your word. The absolute beauty panicked. She thought that Lu Ming was going to do something to her. What are you panicking for? I'm saving you. Lu Ming smiled faintly and channeled a stream of divine power into the beautiful woman's body. However, the moment the divine power entered the other's body, it was frozen by the terrifying cold air in the other's body. Her body has been completely frozen by the cold air, and it's almost frozen to her heart and brain. If these two places are frozen, she's going to die. The quantity formula said. Can you suck out the cold chi in her body? Lu Ming asked. Of course I can, but I can't expose myself. Put your palm on her palm and it'll draw the cold out of her body. But this way it will be slower. The quantity formula said. If the measure formula appeared directly and the devouring power enveloped the beautiful woman, it would be easy to absorb the cold chi in her body. However, if that were the case, the measure formula would be exposed. The origin ancient word could not be exposed now, or else it would bring a great disaster. It doesn't matter if it's slow, Lu Ming said. Then, his palm and the beautiful woman's palm touched. The beautiful woman's palm had been frozen into ice. It was as cold as a piece of 10,000-year-old ice. When they stuck to each other, the measure formula burst out with an attractive force. It flowed along Lu Ming's palm and rushed into the beautiful woman's body. The cold air in the beautiful woman's body was continuously absorbed by Lu Ming's palm and then entered the measure formula. The absolute beauty blinked her eyes twice. She was rather curious. She did not expect Lu Ming to have such means. Initially, she thought that she was dead for sure. Buzz, buzz, and NBSP whoosh. At this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air could be heard. It came from the direction of the passageway that Lu Ming and the rest had entered from. There's someone. Lu Ming's expression changed. He didn't expect that someone would be able to find their way in here. The next moment, 5 figures appeared in the underground space. It's them. Lu Ming saw 5 figures at a glance. They were the white-haired young man and the other 4 he had met earlier. The white-haired young man and the other 4 swept their gazes across the room, and their eyes landed on Lu Ming and the beautiful lady. They were shocked to see the beautiful lady, but their eyes lit up when they swept their gazes across the scene. They were not stupid. After seeing the corpse of the vine and the situation of Lu Ming and the beautiful woman, how could they not guess? Haha, this is the Myriad Rivers Ice Vine. I didn't expect that this place would actually give birth to a Myriad Rivers Ice Vine. What great luck! A young man laughed excitedly when he saw the corpse of the vine. His eyes were filled with a fiery light. The greatest luck is that the myriad river ice vine has been killed. We don't have to do anything now, ha. Another young man laughed. It's you? Get lost. The absolute beauty shouted coldly when she saw the white-haired young man and the others. Ioyo, you're still so arrogant. Did we interrupt your date with your little lover? Hee hee, you're still so arrogant in your current state. You really don't know what's good for you. The white-haired young man cried out as he stared at the beautiful woman with an unfriendly look. The absolute beauty was furious, and her almond-shaped eyes widened. If it wasn't for the fact that her entire body was frozen by the cold air, she would have immediately attacked and taught the white-haired youth and the others a profound lesson. You what? With your current condition, do you still want to deal with us? You can't even protect yourself, right? The white-haired young man sized up the beautiful woman and revealed an unscrupulous smile. A beauty like you is rare. Don't worry, I'll let you have a good time before I kill you. Ha! The white-haired young man laughed. The absolute Bowtie's face turned pale in an instant. She naturally knew what the white-haired young man was going to do. Quick, Lu Ming, kill me. I'm begging you, kill me. The absolute beauty sent a voice transmission to Lu Ming. She would rather die than be humiliated by the white-haired young man. How unlucky, Lu Ming muttered. He didn't expect that the white-haired young man and the others would come again after he dealt with the vines. Lu Ming could escape from the white-haired young man and the rest. The key was that he had yet to obtain the gem on the vine's head. It would be a pity to leave like this. Moreover, he might not be able to escape safely if he were to leave with the absolute beauty. Lu Ming's eyes darted around and he began to think of countermeasures. Third brother, let's hurry up and get rid of this brat, lest a long night brings trouble. One of the young men said. Alright, leave this kid to me. You guys collect the corpse of the myriad river's ice vine and leave this place after quickly dealing with it. With that, the white-haired young man walked toward Lu Ming, while the other young men walked toward the vines. One of the young men walked up to the vine and tried to use a storage ring to store the vine's body. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. The vines that were originally motionless suddenly moved again. Ooh! A few vines started to dance like snakes and charged towards the young men. This situation was beyond everyone's expectations. The vine clearly had no life left, so why did it suddenly move again? Not only the white-haired young man, but even Lu Ming and the beautiful woman were stunned. Ah! Caught off guard, one of the young men was directly pierced by a vine. Then, with a swing of the vine, he picked up the young man and smashed him heavily onto the ground. Boom! The ground trembled and the young man was killed on the spot. Speed up the white-haired young man and the rest were a total of 5 people. The white-haired young man walked towards Lu Ming and the absolute beauty while the other 4 walked towards the myriad river ice vine. The myriad river's ice vine suddenly launched an attack and one of the 9th-level celestial deity youths was killed immediately. The other 8 vines danced wildly and attacked the other 3 youths. Bang! Bang! 2 of the young men reacted slightly faster and exploded with attacks to block, but they were still hit by the vines. Their bodies were sent flying and they crashed into the wall, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. There was another woman who was not so lucky. Her reaction was slightly slower and she was immediately entangled by a vine. The temperature of the vines was shockingly low. As the woman was wrapped by the vines, her body was immediately covered in a layer of ice. The vine pulled the woman toward its big mouth. Help! Help! The woman struggled with all her might and screamed. Release him! The white-haired young man roared. He took a step forward and rushed toward the myriad river's ice vine. In the process, he turned into an ice snow lion and roared. A terrifying storm rushed toward the myriad river's ice vine. Boom! Boom! The white-haired young man's attack landed on the vines of the myriad river's ice vine, causing a violent vibration. However, the vines of the myriad river's ice vine were extremely tough, so the white-haired young man's attack couldn't break them at all. The vine was still pulling the woman into the mouth. Help! The woman cried out in despair. Let's attack together. The white-haired young man roared as he continuously struck out with his sharp claws. His claws were like the blades of a divine blade as he clawed at the vines. Clang! The sharp claws scratched the rattan, making a sound of metal clashing. Sparks flew in all directions, but they could only leave a few marks on the rattan. Even the most beautiful woman couldn't break the vines, so the white-haired young man naturally couldn't either. At this moment, the other two young men who had been sent flying by the vines also pounced over. They transformed into ice snow lions and fought with the vines. However, it was of no help. Buzz! The vine wrapped around the woman and threw her into its mouth. The woman's cries suddenly stopped, and there was no sound. The myriad river's ice vine's mouth was filled with a terrifying chill. The woman was thrown in and naturally couldn't resist it. After devouring the woman, the myriad river ice vine roared madly. The 9 vines rushed towards the white-haired young man and the other 2 madly. The shadows of the vines covered the sky and enveloped the 3 of them. At this moment, even if the white-haired young man and the other 2 wanted to escape, it would be difficult. They tried to attack a few times but were blocked by the vines. "I'll fight you to the death." The white-haired young man roared and fought with the myriad river ice vine. "My strength is not as good as before," Lu Ming muttered. He realized that the strength of the myriad river's ice vine was much weaker than when he was fighting with them. Otherwise, the white-haired young man and the others would have been in danger. But now, the white-haired young man and the other 2 were able to fight against the myriad river ice vine. "I didn't expect this ice vine to have a secondary core," the quantity formula said. "Subcore?" Lu Ming was puzzled. "That's right. This myriad river's ice vine has a subcore in addition to its main core. Just now, when you shattered the main core, the myriad river's ice vine wasn't completely dead. It was awakening its subcore. However, a subcore is a subcore after all. It's far from being comparable to the main core. It seems that this ice vine's spiritual intelligence has been greatly reduced. It has already gone crazy and only knows how to attack. Its strength has also been greatly reduced," the quantity formula explained. Lu Ming understood. He could not help but secretly rejoice in his heart. It turned out that the myriad river's ice vine had a subcore. Fortunately, the white-haired young man and the rest had come. Otherwise, if Lu Ming had gone to retrieve the gem on the myriad river's ice vine's head and the myriad river's ice vine suddenly woke up and attacked, the consequences would be unpredictable. This won't do. If this goes on, the winner will be decided very soon. At that time, it will be disadvantageous for both of us. We must absorb the cold chi from her body as soon as possible. Old Liang, can't you be faster? Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to the quantity formula. If I hurry, it'll be easily exposed. And your palms are separated by palms, too far from her heart and brain. The heart and brain are both fragile parts. If I increase my strength, the cold air will hurt her heart and brain, the quantity formula said. Then how can we increase the speed? Lu Ming asked again. It's simple. Place one hand on her forehead and the other on her heart. This way, you'll be able to perform better when we're closer, the quantity formula said. Ah! Lu Ming was in a difficult position. It was fine if it was stuck to the forehead, but if it was stuck to the girl's heart, it was a little. Hurry up. You're a man and yet you're still so wishy-washy. Don't say that I didn't warn you when the outcome of the battle is decided. The quantity formula called out. All right. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and stared at the beautiful woman. Miss, you can see the situation now. In order to save you as soon as possible, I'm sorry. With that, Lu Ming placed one hand on the beautiful woman's forehead and his other hand on her heart. What are you doing? No, don't, the woman cried out. However, Lu Ming could not be bothered with her. He placed his palm on the woman's heart. The woman's voice stopped abruptly. She stared at Lu Ming with her big watery eyes. Her eyes were filled with anger, shyness, and other complicated emotions. Her originally white face had also turned red. Cough cough. Being stared at so intently, Lu Ming could not help but feel a little embarrassed despite his thick skin. He coughed a few times and said to the quantity word formula, Old Liang, you'd better hurry. Leave it to me. The quantity formula glowed. A strong suction force flowed along Lu Ming's palm and entered the beautiful woman's heart and brain, absorbing the cold air in her body. The cold qi in her body was absorbed by the Liang word art at an alarming rate. The ice on the beautiful woman's body quickly melted and disappeared. Her body gradually regained its warmth. At this moment, the battle between the three-headed snow lion and the myriad river ice vine had already entered a state of white heat. Although the myriad river's ice vine only had its subcore left, it had lost its intelligence and was completely mad. Its combat strength was also extremely terrifying, suppressing the three-headed snow lion. Finally, one of the frost lions couldn't hold on any longer and an ice vine pierced through its head, killing it on the spot. As such, only the white-haired youth and the other youth were left. "Third brother, what should we do? Are we going to die here?" The other young man said in fear. This young man was also a half-step divine king. He was slightly weaker than the white-haired young man, but he was still very strong. They had tried many times to rush out, but the 9 vines were waving so tightly that they were airtight, completely blocking their retreat. Blue spirit today, only by killing him will we have a chance to kill him. His vital point is that head. Let's join forces and kill him. The white-haired young man was a decisive man. Since he couldn't escape, he could only risk his life. The two of them came up with a plan through voice transmission. The 2 snow lions roared and used the lion's roar technique. The air was overbearing and blew away a few vines. Then, the 2 rushed towards the vines' heads. However, there were 9 vines in total. Immediately, the rest of the vines shot towards the 2 frost lions. "I'll block the vines, you go and kill him." At this moment, an ice snow lion roared loudly. His entire body was burning with divine power. He opened his mouth and roared. One after another, lions flew out from his mouth and charged towards the vines. This was a secret technique that was condensed from divine power. This frost lion was going all out. It burned its divine power and activated a terrifying secret technique. Boom, boom, boom. The lions rushed out one after another, slamming into the vines and actually temporarily pushing away the 9 vines. How could the white-haired young man miss such an opportunity? His entire body glowed and he roared as he charged towards the head of the myriad river's ice vine. He waved his sharp claws and streaks of claw radiance clawed at the head of the myriad river's ice vine. The myriad river's ice vine roared and opened its mouth. Icicles shot out from its mouth and collided with the white-haired youth's claw radiance. At the same time, the ultimate cold gem on the head of the myriad river ice vine glowed. A white beam of light shot toward the white-haired youth. This beam of light was extremely terrifying and its speed was shocking. Previously, even the absolute beauty and Lu Ming could not avoid it. The white-haired young man naturally couldn't avoid it and was hit by the white beam. The white-haired youth's body stiffened as soon as he was hit by the white light. A layer of ice crystals appeared on the surface of his body at an alarming speed. The snow lion cultivated divine power of the cold attribute and it controlled divine-grade divine power, but it could not block the cold air of the light beam. Bang! The white-haired young man's huge body fell to the ground, unable to move at all. He wasn't dead yet, and his eyes were filled with fear. Roar! The other snow lion let out a furious roar. However, there was only one snow lion left, and it was even less of a match for the 10,000 rivers ice vines. The 9 ice vines danced wildly, attacking the snow lion like a storm. Soon, the snow lion couldn't hold on any longer. Its body was hit continuously and it was seriously injured. If we're going to die, well, die together. The ice lion's eyes were filled with madness as it charged towards the myriad river ice vine, its body emitting a blinding white light. He was going to self-destruct. In the next moment, with a terrifying explosion, the frost lion self-destructed, and the terrifying energy swept through the entire underground space. Not good. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the beautiful woman's slender waist. His figure flashed and he retreated far away. He set up layers of defense in front of him to offset the impact of the outside world. The light dissipated, and the self-destructing snow lion had disappeared. The white-haired youth who was frozen and on the verge of death had also completely fallen. As for the myriad river's ice vine, it was obviously injured as well. It was at the center of the explosion, and there were several big holes in its head. Its aura was much weaker. The myriad river's ice vine howled and glared at Lu Ming and the beautiful woman with its furious eyes. The 9 vines danced and rushed toward Lu Ming and the beautiful woman. Good, I can make it. At this moment, Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. He suddenly let go of the beautiful woman and retreated quickly. Boom. Lu Ming had just retreated when a powerful aura burst out from the beautiful woman. Lu Ming had finally absorbed the last bit of cold air in the beautiful woman's body. Once the cold air was absorbed, the beautiful woman's powerful cultivation burst out in full force. That was why Lu Ming had retreated in a hurry. Who knew if the absolute beauty would kill him after she recovered? The absolute Bowtie's eyes were cold as she swept a glance at Lu Ming. In the end, her figure flashed and she charged at the myriad river's ice vine. Die! The absolute beauty shouted and sword light burst out one after another, aiming for the myriad river ice vine's head. Because of the subcore, the myriad river's ice vine's strength was not as strong as before. Just now, it was injured by the snow lion's self-explosion, so its strength had weakened a lot. In this way, it was no match for the beautiful woman at all. As for the absolute beauty, all she had to do was to pay attention to the white light beam that the other party shot out. Whoosh, whoosh. The sword lights attacked the myriad river ice vine like a tide. Some of the sword lights pushed the opponent's vines away, while the rest of the sword lights hit the head of the myriad river's ice vine, leaving sword wounds on its head. The myriad river's ice vine roared madly. It had no spiritual intelligence. Its head glowed and another beam of light flew out from the gem. However, this time, the absolute beauty was already on guard. She was far enough away, and her figure flashed, avoiding the light beam. Slash! The beautiful woman shouted as she held her sword with both hands. A terrifying sword light shot into the sky. Then, the sword light slashed at the myriad river ice vine. The sword light was too powerful. It was the all-out attack of the absolute beauty. It directly swept away the 9 vines and slashed at the head of the myriad river's ice vine. The myriad river's ice vine's head was instantly split in half. With this, the myriad river's ice vine had completely fallen. Its huge corpse fell heavily to the ground. After killing the myriad river's ice vine, the absolute beauty turned around and looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body tensed up and he was ready for a big battle. You saved my life this time, so I'll spare you this time. Next time we meet, I won't let you go. Remember, the one who killed you, Lan Ling. After leaving behind these cold words, the absolute beauty turned into a sword light and rushed into the passage, disappearing in the blink of an eye. After the beautiful woman left, Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the absolute beauty still had some conscience and didn't continue to kill him. Otherwise, he would have to prepare to escape again. Lan Ling, is that her name? Lu Ming muttered. He then shook his head and smiled bitterly. He had mixed feelings. No one would be able to remain calm when a beautiful woman appeared out of nowhere and said that she wanted to marry him. I have to improve my strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll be hunted down by this crazy woman again the next time I see her. Lu Ming underestimated it and walked towards the myriad river's ice vine. The myriad river's ice vine's head had been split in half by the blue spirit sword. Its subcore had also been shattered by the destructive sword chi. It couldn't be more dead. Fortunately, the chilling gem is fine. Lu Ming looked at the gem on the head of the myriad river's ice vine. It was still intact. Fortunately, the angle of Lan Ling's attack was slightly off. Otherwise, if the gemstone was shattered, Lu Ming would vomit blood. In a flash, he appeared on the myriad river's ice vine's head. Lu Ming took out a combat sword and removed the glacial gem from the myriad river's ice vine's head. Refining the rattan, the gem was extremely cold, and it emanated a terrifying cold air. The quality of this gem is definitely not inferior to the Ice Jade Cold Heart of the Ice Soul clan. Lu Ming muttered. Kid, with this extreme cold gem, I can neutralize a portion of the energy in the star core. I can quickly refine a portion of the energy. The quantity formula said. Alright, then you can absorb it. Lu Ming said. Following that, Lu Ming's glabella glowed and the measure formula flew out. It shone at the utmost cold gem and the gem disappeared, being absorbed by the measure formula. After the quantity formula was absorbed, it flew back to Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. It quieted down and began to refine the energy. Lu Ming sized him up. First, his gaze fell on the 9 vines of the Myriad River Ice Vine. The Myriad River's ice vine was born naturally. It could be said that its entire body was a treasure. Lu Ming was especially envious of the 9 vines. He had witnessed the power of the 9 vines in the previous battle. Not only were they extremely tough, but they were also filled with a terrifying chill. If the 9 vines were to be refined into the ice shackles, wouldn't the power of the ice shackles increase greatly? The power of the ice shackles was not bad, but it also had a weakness, and that was its fragility. Against cultivators of the same level, or even 1, 2, or 3 levels higher, it was still effective. However, the enemies that Lu Ming was facing were usually 4 to 5 levels higher than him, or even more. The ice chains were easily broken. However, if he refined this kind of rattan, the weakness of the ice shackles would disappear, and its power would definitely increase. He did as he said. However, there was a problem that gave Lu Ming a headache. How could he cut the rattan? Lu Ming walked around the corpse of the Myriad River's ice vine, and his eyes lit up. He took out a combat sword and started slashing at the place where the vine and the root of the head were connected. The Myriad River's ice vine's head was not that hard. Very soon, Lu Ming removed one of the vines. It's so heavy! Lu Ming grabbed the rattan and waved it slightly. As the rattan waved, it pierced through the air and made a terrifying whistling sound. It was extremely heavy and there was a cold air that drilled into Lu Ming's arm. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, he was happy. The more mysterious the vine was, the greater the benefits. Lu Ming immediately sat down cross-legged and with a thought, an ice chain flew out. This ice chain had been refined into a ball of cold liquid, and it was the most powerful. Lu Ming had to first refine the rattan into this ice chain. And NBSP he used the ice chain secret technique, and the ice chains wriggled and merged with the vines. Then he started to refine them. Of course, this kind of rattan was extremely tough. It was not easy to refine it. Lu Ming spent half a month to completely refine the rattan and integrate it into the ice chains. With a thought, the ice chains danced like long snakes. Ooh! The ice chains whipped in the air, erupting with a terrifying whistling sound. Bang! The ice chain struck the ground, causing the ground to shake and gravel to fly everywhere. A ditch a few meters deep was created. What a powerful force! Lu Ming's eyes lit up. One had to know that the ground here had been eroded by the cold nether energy for many years and had long been extremely hard. However, a whip from the ice chain had caused great damage, while the ice chain itself was not affected at all. Then, Lu Ming took out a high-grade divine sword and slashed at the ice chains with all his might. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions, and the divine sword hummed and vibrated non-stop. However, there was not a single mark on the ice chains. It's too tough. It has completely inherited the characteristics of the Myriad River Ice Vine. Kid, that's a good idea. The Myriad River's ice vine was born naturally and has endless potential. It was far from reaching its peak before. So, as long as you refine its vines into your secret skill, the power of your secret skill will continue to improve as your cultivation improves. The quantity formula said. Old Liang, how's the refining of the energy going? Lu Ming looked delighted. Refining energy can't be done overnight, but I've already refined a portion of it. I can transfer it to you now. The quantity formula said. Let's wait for a while. I'll refine all the remaining vines first. Lu Ming said. Following that, Lu Ming continued to struggle. He cut off the remaining 8 vines and refined them into his ice chains. Lu Ming realized that the remaining ice chains were more difficult to fuse with the rattan. It also took a longer time. Just like that, Lu Ming spent a whole year to refine the remaining 8 vines and integrate them into the ice chains. With a single thought, the 9 ice chains danced in the air, making a terrifying whistling sound. With another thought, the 9 ice chains disappeared without a trace. He could use it freely. In this case, my combat strength has increased a little. Lu Ming smiled. Now, the 9 ice chains were extremely tough. They could be used to attack and defend. Ordinary people couldn't break them at all. This greatly increased Lu Ming's life-saving energy. Old Liang, now, transfer the refined energy to me. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to the quantity formula. Now, it was time to improve his cultivation. All right, pay attention. The sound of the quantity formula was heard. Following that, a wave of dense and pure energy emerged. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and began to absorb this energy to cultivate. This kind of energy was extremely pure. Lu Ming could easily refine it and transform it into his own divine power. In his dantian, the divine fire formed by the 5 types of divine-grade divine power continued to grow. Those 5 divine flames were originally equivalent to first-level heavenly deities. At this moment, they were rapidly approaching second-level heavenly deities. A few days later, the flames of the 5 divine flames suddenly skyrocketed, successfully charging to second-level celestial deity. The upgrade continued. 10 days later, the 5 divine flames assailed the third-level celestial deity realm again. This speed was extremely shocking. This meant that Lu Ming was constantly breaking through realms. If he were to cultivate normally, he would definitely need to spend a lot of time. A few hundred years would be considered little, and a few thousand years or even 10,000 years would be considered normal. This was the advantage of having the measure formula. The 5 divine flames were still rising, continuously approaching the 4th-level celestial deity realm. However, when it rose to the peak of the 3rd-level celestial deity realm, it no longer had any energy. The energy that emerged from the quantity formula had been completely refined. Is there any more? Lu Ming said to the quantity word formula with eager eyes. You should be satisfied to have so much energy in a year. The quantity formula said. Lu Ming was speechless. However, after thinking about it, he felt that he should be satisfied. If he didn't have the extreme cold gem, even if he used the quantity formula to refine the energy of a star's core, it would still take hundreds of years. Now, he could achieve it in a year. Lu Ming should be satisfied. Cultivation base breakthrough, however, there's still a lot of energy left in the freezing gem. It can also neutralize the energy of many star cores. Just wait. The quantity formula said. Lu Ming nodded and immediately started to cultivate. This underground space was very remote. It was already in the cold nether forbidden ground, so almost no one came here. Ever since Lan Ling left, no one else came to the place. Lu Ming was happy to be idle and he was focused on cultivating. When the quantity formula had not transferred energy to him, Lu Ming had been focused on comprehending the secret skill. When there was energy, Lu Ming would refine it. Every few months, the quantity formula would give him a stream of energy. Just like that, another 2 years passed. Lu Ming had been here for more than 3 years. In the past 3 years, Lu Ming's cultivation level had improved rapidly. In the beginning, the divine fire condensed from the 5 types of divine-grade divine energy had all been raised to the same level as the ruler's divine energy and inextinguishable sword force. Then, the 9 types of divine energy broke through together. Just a few days ago, Lu Ming had successfully broken through to 5th-tier celestial god. The 9 types of divine energy in his body had all broken through to the 5th-level celestial deity realm. This caused Lu Ming's combat strength to skyrocket. With my current combat strength, it shouldn't be difficult for me to deal with the white-haired young man. Lu Ming muttered, secretly estimating his ability. The white-haired young man was a half-step divine king and his divine power was about 60 to 70% awakened. 3 years ago, Lu Ming was definitely not this person's match. However, Lu Ming was confident that he could defeat this person now. Lu Ming estimated that his current ability should be equivalent to a half-step divine king. The degree of awakening of his divine power was about 80 to 90% of the geniuses. The comparison of strength here referred to the geniuses who controlled divine-grade divine power. Without divine-grade divine power, there was no such thing as awakening divine power. However, Lu Ming was probably no match for the powerful indigo spirit. My attack-type divine skill is still at the 7th level. If I can break through to the 8th level, it'll be even stronger. Lu Ming pondered. However, such strength was already considered to be at the top among the Heaven's Pride experts who had entered Star Moon Ancient City. After all, there were only a few top talents who had awakened the origin divine power factor. Unfortunately, the energy of the chilling gem has been used up. Otherwise, I could continue to try. Lu Ming muttered and shook his head. He knew that he was being greedy. This time, not only had his other 5 types of divine-grade divine power increased, but his cultivation had also broken through 1 level. This was already a great harvest. One had to know that he had broken through with 9 types of divine power at the same time. The amount of energy required was too terrifying. If he only cultivated 1 type of energy, he would definitely rise by more than 1 level. I've already wasted more than 3 years. It's time for me to go out and take a walk. It's not easy for me to come to Star Moon Ancient City. I can't waste my time like this. Lu Ming smiled and left the place. Not long after, Lu Ming reached the surface and flew out of the land of the cold nether. Very few people came to the cold nether forbidden ground. Lu Ming flew all the way and did not meet a single person. Not long after, Lu Ming left the range of the cold nether forbidden ground. After leaving the cold nether forbidden grounds, Lu Ming took out a map and looked at it. This map was naturally the map given to him by Wu Zixiong. Very soon, Lu Ming locked onto the location. Myriad God Cliff. On the map, there was a big circle, and the place was marked in big black characters. This was an important place in Star Moon Ancient City. Previously, Wu Zixiong and the rest had mentioned that Lu Ming could cultivate at Myriad God Cliff when he was free. This was because this place could help people awaken the origin divine power factor. It was said that many people had awakened the origin divine power factor at Myriad God Cliff in the past. Or perhaps, some people had returned to the Universal Camp after cultivating at Myriad God Cliff and awakened their origin genes. This was a place that they had to go to once they entered Star Moon Ancient City. A few years ago, if Lu Ming had not been looking for supreme cold treasures to improve his strength, he would have gone there long ago. However, it was not too late to go now. Lu Ming followed the directions on the map and headed towards Myriad God Cliff. 2 days later, Lu Ming arrived at Myriad God Cliff. Myriad God Cliff was a cliff. However, this cliff was very magnificent. It was hundreds of thousands of feet high and there were many statues carved on the cliff. The statues were of different sizes, and they were carved with different gods. Some were ferocious, some were majestic, and some were terrifying. At a glance, there really were no less than 10,000. It was said that these statues were all carvings of primitive gods. And in the air outside Myriad God Cliff, there were stone platforms floating in the air. These stone platforms were extremely huge. Each one was 10 miles in length and width. From high to low, from far to near, they were like steps floating in the air. On each of these stone platforms, there was a figure sitting cross-legged. On each stone platform, there was only one figure. There were also many figures standing in the void outside the stone platform, watching from afar. Lu Ming flew over. Many people glanced at him and ignored him. Although Lu Ming had passed through the Sky Gate and many people knew him, his cultivation level was very low. These people did not take it to heart. Lu Ming did not mind and looked forward. There was a person sitting cross-legged on each of the stone platforms, and a layer of light enveloped each person. Brother, why is there only one person on each stone platform? Can't the others go up? Lu Ming asked a young man who looked simple and honest. You just got here, right? The honest-looking young man glanced at him. Yes, yes. Lu Ming said with a smile. It said that this stone platform was used by ancient deities during the early stages of the heavenly palace to observe the myriad god cliff's cultivation. Ancient deities were all extremely huge, which is why this stone platform is so big, and each stone platform can only accommodate one person at a time. If there are too many people, they will be bounced off. The honest-looking young man explained. I see. Lu Ming came to a realization. No wonder there was only one person on each stone platform. Now that the stone platform has been occupied by them, won't we have no chance? Lu Ming asked again. Of course there's a chance, but everything must be fought for with strength. The honest-looking young man said. Fight for it with your own strength? What do you mean? Lu Ming asked. This stone platform was set up with a powerful restriction in the early days of the Heavenly Palace era. It operates according to a certain rule. If a person practices on a stone platform, the formation of the stone platform will protect him. The honest-looking young man explained. Lu Ming nodded. There was a layer of light on the people on the stone platform. It was the power of the formation's protection. With the protection of the formation, you can cultivate in peace. Others can't attack you. However, this protection has a time limit. After 3 months, this protection will disappear. Of course, it will only disappear for a short period of time. It will only last for 1 day. After 1 day, the protective power of the formation will appear again. Therefore, today is the day to fight for the stone platform. The honest-looking young man said. Chapter 3014 Settling Accounts. After hearing the honest young man's explanation, Lu Ming roughly understood the rules of cultivation here. When one cultivated on each stone platform, they would be protected by a large formation for 3 months. After 3 months, the protection of the formation would disappear for a day. On this day, the others could compete for the stone platform. Whoever defeated the person on the stone platform could replace the other party and cultivate on the stone platform for 3 months. In other words, on the stone platform, one had to accept a challenge every 3 months. If one could defeat the challenger, they could continue to cultivate. On this stone platform, the higher you go and the closer you are to Myriad God Cliff, the better the effects of cultivation. Therefore, you can also challenge those who go up. However, the higher you are on the stone platform, the more powerful you are. Ordinary people are no match for you. The honest-looking young man explained. Lu Ming nodded, his gaze landing on the stone platform at the top. There were 3 stone platforms at the very top and the one closest to Myriad God Cliff. 3 figures were sitting cross-legged on them. It's him! Lu Ming recognized one of them. He was one of the 4 top geniuses who had passed the Heaven's Gate. He was a half-step divine king who had awakened the divine power source. Although the other 2 had not awakened the origin divine power factor, their abilities were probably also extremely shocking. Following that, Lu Ming's gaze moved downwards. He discovered that there were a total of 108 stone platforms. Some of the stone platforms even had people Lu Ming was familiar with. People from the Qin clan and the Jin clan. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with coldness. On a few stone platforms sat people from the Qin clan. These people were the ones who had wanted to surround and kill Lu Ming. In addition, there were also acquaintances in the Jin family. Jin Xing was one of them. Everyone's here, hee. Lu Ming sneered, his voice cold. By the way, brother, how long can each of us cultivate up there? Lu Ming asked again. Everyone can cultivate for 3 years. After 3 years, you can't go up unless you wait for the next time you come in. The honest-looking young man explained. Lu Ming nodded. It was no wonder that a few of the top talents were not around. Logically speaking, those talents would not miss such a place. It seemed that some of them had already cultivated for 3 years. Perhaps some of them were not in a hurry. After all, they could stay in Star Moon Ancient City for 10 years. Everyone stood in the air and waited quietly. Many of them were ready for a big battle at any time. There were more wolves than meat. There were only 108 stone platforms in total, but there were thousands of people here. Even if each person could only cultivate for 3 years, many people could not go up there to cultivate. If they wanted to go up there to cultivate, They could only compete with their strength. Very quickly, a day had passed. Someone's 3-month deadline is coming up. Suddenly, someone spoke, his eyes shining. Many people's gazes fell on a young man with a scale between his brows in the bottommost row. People from the Qin family, what a coincidence. I want this seat. Lu Ming muttered. At this moment, the light barrier around the Qin clan's heavens chosen suddenly began to glow. When the light reached its limit, it quickly dimmed. Then, the heavens chosen opened his eyes. At the same time, at least 100 figures rushed out towards the stone platform. I want this stone platform. Who do you think you are? Get lost. This challenge is mine. It's mine. Angry roars rang out one after another, and then a brilliant divine light filled the air. Hundreds of people fought fiercely in the air. Everyone wanted to step onto the stone platform and obtain the right to challenge. Whoever stepped onto the stone platform first would have the right to challenge. Boom, boom, boom. In the void, there were constant rumbles and terrifying explosions. All kinds of divine light and attacks were constantly colliding. However, the young men who were cultivating on the stone platform didn't seem to feel anything. It was obvious that the light shield formed by the formation protected them and even isolated them from the outside world. This way, they could cultivate in peace and not be disturbed by the outside world. A total of more than 100 heavens favorites were fighting intensely. For a moment, no one could step onto the stone platform. This was because whoever approached the stone platform would be attacked by the others. A Heaven's Pride expert let out a blood-curdling screech. He wanted to rush up the stone platform, but he was attacked by the others. Dozens of divine lights drowned that Heaven's Pride expert. After the blood-curdling screech, that Heaven's Pride expert vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind. The killing continued. People were constantly injured, and people were retreating. The remaining people didn't make a move because some of them knew their own limitations. They knew that they weren't strong enough and wouldn't be able to compete even if they went up. I want this stone platform. At this moment, the corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled into a faint smile. His figure suddenly moved and he dashed toward the stone platform like a bolt of lightning. His speed was astonishing as he rapidly approached the stone platform. However, the others had also noticed Lu Ming. You're looking for death. Get lost. Many people made their moves. In an instant, dozens of divine lights shot toward Lu Ming. The Kunpeng of the ninth heaven, Kunpeng. Lu Ming shouted in a low voice and used the 9 heavenly Kunpeng technique. His divine power condensed into a Kunpeng. With a flap of its wings, his figure suddenly accelerated and dodged the attacks. In the next moment, he landed on the stone platform. So fast. Many people's hearts trembled. They actually didn't have the time to make a move just now. After that, many people sighed. It seemed that they wouldn't have a share of this stone platform. Once someone stepped onto the stone platform, the others would no longer be able to compete. Seeing that Lu Ming had stepped onto the stone platform, the battle in the air stopped and everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. Stepping onto the stone platform was only the first step. In order to obtain the right to cultivate on the stone platform, one had to defeat the person who had cultivated before. Unless the other party voluntarily withdrew after the 3 years were up. Lu Ming, it's you. The Qin clan's paragon looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. Of course it's me. It's time to settle the score with you all for besieging me that day. Lu Ming said coldly. Settle accounts? Just you? The Qin clan's paragon sneered as a powerful aura emanated from his body. 9th level celestial deity. The cultivation of this Qin clan's Heaven's Pride expert was at the 9th level of the heavenly deity realm. Furthermore, this time, he had already cultivated on this stone platform for half a year. The degree of his divine power awakening had increased by a lot and had already reached 50%. Lu Ming wanted to settle scores with him? You're looking for death. Boom. Lu Ming could not be bothered to waste his breath on him. He took a step forward and a huge aura rose. All the divine power in his body exploded. The divine power on the surface of his body jumped and burned like flames. After that, the battle formula was activated. However, Lu Ming did not use his ancient god body. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he did not need the ancient god body to deal with a 9th-tier celestial god with a 50% awakened divine power. A terrifying aura rushed toward the other party like an avalanche. The other party's pupils suddenly widened and he exclaimed, "Your aura? How is this possible?" The Qin family's youth was frightened. How could a 5th-level celestial deity have such a terrifying aura? Primitive god divine energy surged from Lu Ming's body and formed a shock wave that spread in all directions. The power of the aura not only shocked the Qin family's paragon, but also the other people around him. Such an aura was simply stronger than the 9th-level heavenly deity Qin clan's prodigy. Ice chains. Lu Ming muttered and 9 ice chains rushed out from his body. 7 injury divine fist. At this moment, the Qin clan's heaven's favorite finally reacted. With an angry roar, his body glowed and he punched out. A huge fist print, as big as a mountain, came crashing down on Lu Ming. Bang, bang, bang. And NBSP 3 of the ice chains struck the fist seal, causing it to shake and explode, but the ice chains were completely fine. After refining the 9 vines of the Myriad River's ice vine, the ice chains became extremely tough. It was impossible for the other party to break them. The other 6 ice chains flew forward and continued to attack the Qin clan's paragon. The Qin clan's paragon's expression changed drastically. He unleashed all of his strength and even injured himself. He spat out blood and increased the power of his 7 injury divine fist. Boom, boom. He threw a few more punches in an attempt to break the ice chains. However, after the ice chains collided with the fist seal, they only flicked slightly and changed directions. Then, they continued to attack the Qin clan's heaven's pride expert. A few ice chains pierced through the defense of the Qin clan's heaven's favorite and wrapped around him. A terrifying coldness spread out. A layer of ice immediately appeared on the body of the Qin clan's heaven's chosen, making him unable to move at all. "Spare me! Spare me!" The Qin clan's heaven's pride expert was scared to death as he roared. Outside of the stone platform, the others were also dumbfounded. It's over? It had only been a few moves, and the Qin clan's prodigy was already defeated. Wasn't he defeated too quickly? What a powerful secret skill. Lu Ming's secret skill is so powerful. I didn't expect that his strength is actually so shocking. Just a 5th-level celestial deity, no wonder he can pass through the heavenly gate. Many people sighed. You wanted to kill me before. Is it possible for you to beg for mercy now? Lu Ming's indifferent voice was heard. With a single thought, an ice chain was like a sharp spear, piercing towards the other party's eyebrows. The other party's glabella was pierced through, and after struggling for a moment, he died. Then he swung the ice chain and threw the corpse out of the stone platform. After settling the Qin family's prodigy, Lu Ming sat down cross-legged and waited for the day to pass. There was only one chance to challenge. If Lu Ming succeeded in his challenge, the others could not continue to challenge him. If they wanted to challenge him, they could only do so 3 months later. Soon the day came. There was a light screen on the stone platform that enveloped Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming's vision turned black and he was completely plunged into darkness. Boom, boom. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt a terrifying roar coming from outside. The world shook violently. Lu Ming quickly opened his eyes and was shocked by the scene in front of him. In the universe, a group of giants were fighting. The so-called giants were simply too huge. Each giant stood in the universe and was astonishingly burly. Their fists were bigger than a planet. Ancient god, or primitive god spirit? Lu Ming's heart was beating violently. All of them were primitive gods. A group of primitive godly spirits were fighting fiercely. The universe was boiling, and the stars were falling like meteors. Some stars exploded like fireworks. This was the true destruction of the world. In such a great battle, it would not take long for a galaxy to be destroyed. Not good. Suddenly, Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. This was because he saw a ray of divine power rushing towards him. This divine power was filled with an ancient aura. After awakening the origin factor of divine power, it was somewhat similar to this aura, but there was a huge difference. This was the difference in essence. That was because this was the original divine power controlled by the original god. Lu Ming's heart was in his throat. His entire body was tense. He wanted to escape, but he realized that he could not. Am I going to die here? Lu Ming had a thought. That divine power was too terrifying. If he was hit, he would definitely not be left with even a bit of residue. Even a peak divine king or a figure above divine king would be killed instantly by such a divine power, let alone him. The speed of the divine power was too fast. Lu Ming had only had a few thoughts and the divine power had already struck him. However, Lu Ming did not feel anything at all. Lu Ming looked at himself and touched himself. He realized that he was fine. It was as if he was transparent. The divine power rushed through his body and struck a huge planet in the distance. The planet exploded with a boom. I'm fine. Are these all illusions? Lu Ming swallowed his saliva and secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Following that, he carefully observed. Indeed, all of this was an illusion and not real. Perhaps it was a projection from countless years ago. Then, Lu Ming thought of the god statues on the myriad god cliff. Perhaps they were projected by the god statues. However, the fluctuation of divine power can be felt. Different primitive gods control different divine powers. Lu Ming observed carefully, his eyes bright. These primordial divine powers controlled different types of origin divine power. Many of the divine-grade divine powers now, if they were traced back to their roots, were most likely evolved from these origin divine powers. If he could find the origin divine power that had the same source as the divine-grade divine power he controlled and study it carefully, he would definitely gain a lot. No wonder it was said that this place had a great effect on one's comprehension of divine power, and one could even use it to awaken the origin divine power factor. I control 7 types of divine-grade divine power. Which one should I cultivate first? I'd better first train in hegemon level divine power. In the end, Lu Ming decided to cultivate the god's divine power first. The god's divine power was the divine-grade divine power that he had mastered the earliest. He had the deepest understanding of it and it would definitely be easier to cultivate it. But first, he had to find a primordial god that controlled the original divine power and had the same origin as the chief divine power. Let's go! Lu Ming tried to move. With a single thought, his body flew out at an unimaginable speed. Around him, huge gods were fighting fiercely. However, Lu Ming was not affected at all. He was pierced through. That is the origin Shen power of the Sun Shen power. Lu Ming saw a primordial divine power radiating with light all over its body. It was more resplendent than a star. When it went crazy, it grabbed a star as a weapon and threw it at its enemy. It was extremely powerful. This primordial godly spirit controlled origin Shen power, which was similar to the Sun Shen power. Lu Ming happened to be in control of the Sun Shen power. Let's first find the origin divine power of a ruler's divine power. Lu Ming suppressed his excitement and continued to search. Chasing away the gold punishment, Lu Ming continued to search. Not long after, he finally made a discovery. A primitive godly spirit was covered in a purple gold light, and its appearance could not be seen clearly. However, the strange thing was that the body of this primitive god was not very big. It was only about 100 meters tall. Compared to the other primitive gods that were usually bigger than planets, it was like a speck of dust. However, the aura it emitted was not weak at all. In fact, it was even stronger. It punched out, and the power of its fist could penetrate several planets in a row, forcing a primitive god to retreat. How terrifying! This is the origin divine power of a ruler's divine power. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He stood not far away, observing and comprehending in detail. To be able to see the original godly spirit use its original godly power at such a close distance was very touching to him. What an exquisite divine power! What a terrifying divine power! I had thought that divine-grade divine power was the strongest divine power, but compared to this origin divine power, it's just trash. No, it's even worse than trash. Lu Ming was shocked. It was like a dried-up sponge, absorbing the nutrients crazily. Lu Ming completely forgot about the time and was immersed in the understanding of the ruler's divine power. And NBSP originally, he didn't have a deep understanding of God-level divine power. He hadn't even awakened 10% of it, perhaps only 1 or 2%. He was still thousands of miles away from truly awakening it. But now, the degree of his awakening was rapidly increasing. Degree of awakening, 2%, 3%, 4%. After an unknown period of time, his awakening had reached 20%. The speed of his improvement was shocking. Lu Ming felt that his use of the ruler's divine power had improved. Of course, the lower the degree of awakening, the easier it would be to awaken. The higher the degree of awakening, the harder and slower it would be to improve. At this moment, Lu Ming felt a force acting on his body. His vision turned black again. The next moment, there was a flash of light. He opened his eyes and found that he was still sitting cross-legged on the stone platform. Lu Ming knew that the 3-month period was up. The light shield on Lu Ming's body disappeared. Lu Ming stood up and swept his gaze across the entire venue, waiting for other people to challenge him. However, for a moment, no one dared to rush forward. 3 months ago, Lu Ming's display of strength was truly shocking. A 9th-tier celestial deity was killed by Lu Ming in a few moves. Without confidence, how could he have rushed to challenge Lu Ming? Lu Ming is too powerful. I'm not his match at all. I'd better wait for the others' stone platforms. That's right. There are a total of 108 stone platforms. On average, it takes less than a day for someone's time to expire. Let's wait a little longer. Some people were discussing. Lu Ming waited for a long time but no one challenged him. It seems that no one will challenge me. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. However, he did not sit cross-legged. He looked at the stone platform above him. The higher one went, the closer one was to the stone platform in Myriad God Cliff, and the better the effect. Lu Ming was no longer satisfied with the current stone platform. He wanted to choose a stone platform with a better effect for cultivation. After all, everyone could only cultivate for 3 years and he could not waste time. Don't tell me that Lu Ming also wants the stone platform above? After everyone saw Lu Ming's status, they started to make guesses. At the same time, many people's eyes flickered. If Lu Ming left the current stone platform, it would be ownerless and they could fight for it. At this moment, someone on the stone platform above Lu Ming emitted a glow. The time was almost up. What a coincidence! Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. This person was actually Jin Xing. Lu Ming was initially considering whether he should wait for Jin Xing's time to run out and chase him off the stone platform. He did not expect that his time was up already. What else could it be if not a coincidence? Jin Xing opened his eyes and looked around. Buzz. At this moment, Lu Ming moved. His speed was shockingly fast. In a flash, he appeared on Jin Xing's stone platform. Lu Ming. At the sight of Lu Ming, Jin Xing's expression changed drastically. Kill. Lu Ming took a step forward and made his move. The ice chains flew out and wrapped around Jin Xing. However, the moment Lu Ming made his move, Jin Xing also moved. He turned into a golden light and rushed out of the stone platform. Jin Xing was indeed one of the 4 heroes of the Jin family. He was very decisive. The moment he saw Lu Ming, he knew that he was no match for him. Without any hesitation, he rushed out of the stone platform. In this way, when Lu Ming's attack arrived, his figure had already left. In an instant, he had rushed out of the stone platform. This guy runs quite fast. Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming, I won't let this go. Jin Xing stood in the crowd, his eyes cold. Charge! That stone platform is mine. At this moment, many people finally reacted and rushed to the stone platform where Lu Ming was previously. A chaotic battle had begun. After a chaotic battle, the stone platform was finally occupied by a 9th-level celestial deity. As for Lu Ming, he had defeated Jin Xing in a challenge. Naturally, no one could challenge him. Let's see the effects of this stone platform first. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and waited quietly. A day later, a light screen enveloped Lu Ming. His vision went dark again. The next moment, he came to another universe and saw a group of primitive gods fighting. This time, Lu Ming quickly found the origin divine energy of the ruler's divine power and began to study it. As expected, the effects of the stone platform above were different. His comprehension was much clearer. Lu Ming's degree of awakening of the ruler's divine power increased at an even faster speed. The further he progressed, the more difficult it was to improve. However, the effect here was better. Lu Ming's improvement speed was faster. After 3 months, his awakening had reached about 45%. Can other people improve so quickly? Lu Ming could not help but think this way. At this rate, he would be able to reach 80% or 90% in no time. Did the others improve so quickly? From his previous observations, he didn't think so. I'm indeed a cultivation genius. Lu Ming gave a very narcissistic smile. Then he stood up and waited for others to challenge him. Many people hesitated. For a moment, no one dared to fight Lu Ming. I'm going to fight. Finally, someone could not help but rush up to the stone platform and stand opposite Lu Ming. Lu Ming, let's have a fight. It's just a sparring session. Let's not fight to the death. How about it? The young man said. He was not confident in facing Lu Ming. That was why he said that. Sure. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He had no enmity with this person, so there was no need to fight to the death. Boom. The young man's aura exploded, and his divine power burned. The young man's cultivation base was extremely close to the half-step divine king realm. Challenging the second row, the young man who challenged Lu Ming had a cultivation base that was infinitely close to the half-step divine king realm. His aura was surging and shocking. Lu Ming, take my strongest move. The young man roared. A battle axe appeared in his hand. The battle axe rapidly grew in size and became 10,000 meters wide. Slash. The young man roared. He became one with his axe and attacked with all his might, slashing at Lu Ming. In an instant, Lu Ming activated the fourfold combat power of the battle character formula. 9 ice chains flew out and enveloped Lu Ming, wrapping him tightly. Boom. The battle axe hit the ice chain's defense and exploded with a loud bang. The force spread in all directions, and the shock waves spread in all directions. The ice chain shook a few times and then was fine. Lu Ming did not move at all. On the other hand, the young man's body was pushed back by the force of the rebound. He landed on the stone platform and was pushed back dozens of steps. Impressive. I'm not your match. Goodbye. The young man cupped his fists and left the stone platform. He had already used his strongest move and knew that he was no match for Lu Ming. He might as well admit defeat and leave. Lu Ming was not bothered by it. After a faint smile, he shifted his gaze to the stone platform further up. He had already experienced the stone platforms here. Although the cultivation speed was not bad, there were better ones. Why not choose the better one? Lu Ming's gaze swept across the first and second rows. They were his target. In the first row, there was a top genius who had awakened the origin divine power factor. Lu Ming was not his match yet, so he naturally would not challenge him. As for the other 2 people, Lu Ming estimated that they were very close to awakening the original divine power factor. Their degree of awakening was estimated to be more than 90%. Lu Ming was not confident in dealing with them. Lu Ming's gaze swept across the second row. Lu Ming planned to challenge the second row first. He would challenge the geniuses in the first row after he had awakened more divine power. Lu Ming waited quietly. In the second row, Lu Ming saw people from the Qin and Jin families. The 2 clans each had a heaven's favorite in the second row. You too. Lu Ming planned to challenge the Qin and Jin families' paragons when their time was up. They would challenge whoever arrived first. Not long after, someone in the third row had reached their time limit. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, but he did not make a move. Lu Ming isn't making a move. Is he waiting for the second or first row? Someone guessed in surprise. Wait for the second and first row? No way. Lu Ming was that powerful? The first 3 rows are all half-step Divine King Heaven's favorites with high levels of divine power awakening. Look at the Heaven's favorite in the 3rd row. He's not challenging him and he's just standing there without cultivating. He must want to challenge the person above. Many people were discussing. However, no one went up to challenge the genius in the 3rd row. That genius was very strong and there were no half-step Divine Kings. Normally, half-step Divine Kings could get a spot without any pressure. Only those below the half-step Divine King realm would compete for it. After waiting for a day, no one accepted the challenge. The young man continued to cultivate. As for Lu Ming, he stood on the stone platform and continued to wait. His body was covered in a layer of light. He had a lot of freedom to cultivate here. Even if the day was up, he could choose not to cultivate. Take Lu Ming for example. A day had passed. As long as he did not enter the cultivation state, he would not enter the universe to cultivate. It would only be a waste of time to waste time. Lu Ming waited for another 2 days. On this day, there was finally some movement on the 2nd row of stone platforms. A young man in a golden robe was emitting light. Have we finally arrived? Lu Ming muttered as a cold glint flashed in his eyes. This golden-robed young man was truly a genius of the Jin family. The young man from the Jin family opened his eyes, but he still sat there quietly without any intention of getting up. He didn't think anyone would dare to challenge him. However, in the next moment, his eyes narrowed. Someone had appeared on his stone platform. Lu Ming. Lu Ming rushed to his stone platform at the first moment. It's you, Lu Ming. You want to challenge me? The paragon of the Jin family was stunned when he saw Lu Ming. He was clearly surprised. Can't I? Lu Ming smiled faintly. Of course you can. If you want to die, it'll naturally fulfill your wish. The young man from Jin family laughed. Jianghu, you have to underestimate him. He killed Qin Mu with a few moves earlier. At this moment, Jin Xing's voice came. Jin Xing, who had been watching from afar, reminded him. He killed Qin Mu? What? Jianghu was slightly taken aback. It seems like your strength has exceeded my expectations. Even though he said that, Jianghu was still very confident. Qin Mu was only a 9th level heavenly god. On the other hand, Jianghu was a half-step divine king. Furthermore, the degree of his divine powers awakening had already reached about 60%. His abilities were far from what Qin Mu could compare to. While the 2 of them were conversing, the others had already started to fight for the stone platform that Lu Ming had used earlier. Lu Ming and Jianghu did not make a move. They were waiting for the others to decide the outcome before making a move. Not long after, Lu Ming's stone platform was occupied by a young man. Now it's your turn. Jianghu looked at Lu Ming and sneered. Golden light emanated from his body. The golden radiance was extremely dense, like a golden armor that enveloped him. Bang! Jianghu took a step forward and his palm turned pure gold. A golden combat sword appeared in his hand and he slashed it at Lu Ming. Ancient god! Lu Ming roared. His body swelled up and turned into an ancient god. Lu Ming had no choice but to use his ancient god body against a half-step divine king. Otherwise, he would not be a match for his opponent in his normal form. However, Lu Ming held back. After he used the ancient god body, his battle character formula only doubled his combat power. As long as it was enough. Break the air. Lu Ming thrust his spear forward. The spear's gleam collided with the opponent's golden sword radiance, creating a terrifying shock wave. Thump. After Lu Ming launched his first attack, he took a step forward and continued to attack. He brandished his spear and launched a storm-like attack. Void-breaking sword. Jianghu let out a long roar, and golden divine light surged as he slashed out golden sword marks. This sword mark was truly terrifying. It was incomparably sharp and seemed to be able to cut through everything. Clang, clang. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides had exchanged dozens of moves. The Jin family's space-breaking secret technique is indeed powerful. Even Lu Ming could not help but sigh at the power of the Jin family's secret technique. The Jin family was ranked high among all the families in the 9 absolute Heavenly King Mansion. It was not just talk, but they had fought their way to the top with their strength. Ice chains. In the middle of the battle, Lu Ming had a thought and 9 ice chains flew out. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.